Nice. Okay, so football mudding update. I've been ordering these balls off Amazon, the blemished ones, and I got one the other day. No blemish. Obviously, it looks great, but look at blue markings without,
Okay.
yeah, without knowing that they were going to send me that. So I'm
Is that a
interested in-
bigger thing?
It's a same ball, same everything, Wilson GST, but I'm going to break this one in, mud it, and then try and sell it.
So
I just sold
like a
a
colored
second
Pro
one.
V1?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of neat, right? I don't think you can even buy these in Canada. You have to get them from the Wilson website directly. So somebody must have just not liked the color or the stitching, but it looks pretty good to me. I sold my last one for $230. So I'm going to try and do the same
Allegedly.
again. Yeah, allegedly. Exactly. And try and do the same again for this one. And keep it going.
Maybe like the idea may come across that you may want to sell it. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows if you're going to
I kind of want to keep it, to be honest with you. It's a nice color. It's not my team's colors, but that aside, it's nice to look at. Yeah. Anyway.
Can we talk about Chicago quickly? Because it's been a while since we talked about Chicago.
Why not?
Right? Like,
yeah, of course.
Let's go right into it. It's a beauty of a post on X, and it was talking about the Illinois State Board of Education, and they released some data.
I love it.
Their Illinois report card for 2024. Love this. Love it very much.
Do you have it? Is it in the stories? No, because it was today, right?
No, this just came up. So like this was very late in the game, added to the stories, to my stories here. And it mentioned 24 specific schools in the state of Illinois that their students have proficient in reading at 0 level. Like they have no ability to read at the grade in which they are in. There's 24 schools that they're reporting 0 students that could report at the grade in which they're in. That is pathetic. Not only that, it also shows the graduation rates of some of the schools. Some of the schools are like 21. That's the lowest I see. 28, 38, 52, 50, 56. Chicago Collegiate Charter School comes up as one of them. The Bowen High School. Like, these are beauties out there. And these are the people that are going to be maybe graduating. Maybe not. I don't know. But they're the ones that are going to be paying in.
Teachers want a raise, by the way. Don't forget. Yeah.
It may not just be a teacher thing. It just could be a societal thing.
I know exactly what it is. It's that some kids and some families just don't have the chops, and there's differences between those families that they just can't do it. Kids cannot go home to environments that are chaotic, that are noisy, that are not conducive to learning. They can't be in classrooms that are noisy, dangerous, not conducive to learning. They can't be, in environments in the city. How many times we talked about Chicago as Chirac that are noisy, dangerous, not conducive to learning. And if you expect those kids to perform at a level in which they, are successful or can be successful or can contribute to a community, you're dreaming. And then on top of that, Len, like, I hate to say it, and people are going to say, oh, this is racist. No, there's white people, black people, Indian people, brown people, Chinese people, whatever, who are having kids that shouldn't have kids. If you don't have the wherewithal to raise a family, then it's possible that you shouldn't be having children. And like, it's not something we can dance around anymore, because soon, Len, the density of these cities in terms of the population that's this caliber will be too much to ignore. And what do you do with a city like Chicago that's a couple million people when none of the best and brightest are staying, only the worst are staying, and you get mayors like this Brandon Johnson guy, or like Lori Lightfoot, or, the city's been going downhill for a long time. It's not a new thing. And when you see stories like this, 24 schools, you said, I think is the number, kids who can't read, can't do math, certainly wouldn't graduate under any normal circumstances, but the bar is lowered because someone somewhere is claiming it's racial disparity or some other bullshit. It's just that it's a disaster. It's a disaster zone over there. The best have left, and you're left with the worst. This is just the fact of the matter. It sucks.
The best have left where? If you're talking about other states, other cities?
Oh, they're not in Chicago. I'll tell you that. Like, I don't know.
Because if people want to go somewhere, say like in
Boomer's saying it too. I'll just mention this before you take over. Big cities are becoming hellholes because the best and brightest people realize they don't want to live in areas where like you're literally shoulder to shoulder with somebody all the time. This is basic sort of Maslow's hierarchy type stuff. And we've been pretending we can ignore it for a long time, but rational people with means are just like, I'm not ignoring this. I'm going to move somewhere that's quiet, out of the way. Not on a fucking bus route, like it's stuff like that makes a difference. And you can pretend all you want, but human nature is human nature. And it's what people who have a choice prefer, and they leave.
Yeah. Well, there's some places that are still decent that are populated, or they're cities, so to speak. So just you got to find them. That there's fewer by today, but there's some still exist, right? And so, but what I'm trying to get at, like, if you are trying to go somewhere on a global scale, like, where's one of the best places in the world to earn a living? It's hard to dispute the United States as not being top choice or close to top choice, right? So that's where you go. So, like, we're going to settle in Chicago or Illinois? Probably not. But those are the people that are graduating now that are or who knows if they're going to graduate.
They are going to graduate, but graduate is going to mean something different, right? That's the problem.
Well, no, the graduation rate was like less than 30% in some of them. So that means 70% are not graduating.
Yeah, but that'll change. That'll change. And
what do you think? They'll get kick after kick at the can?
For sure. Look at Ontario does the same thing, right? They don't fail kids anymore. The literacy test and mathematics standardized testing are regarded as, archaic methods to evaluate intelligence. And, it's happened here. It's probably happening there. Certainly it's happening in other places.
It's irrelevant if they graduate, because the reality is they don't have skill set that's going to enable them to earn a great deal of money. And by earning a great deal of money, that means you could be taxed at a higher rate, in which case, say what you want about taxation, but the state is then able to collect that and provide services to their constituents.
And if they can't tax, what happens? What do they do?
Right. Like, it's beautiful to have new roads, new airports, high-speed trains, shit that works. Not stuff that's old, that's been
the other thing
yesteryear and it's crumbling because it just hasn't been maintenance, and there's not going to be maintenance until
you're exactly right.
Until
maintenance is a big thing. The other thing that I'll note is that if you live in a place like this where the tax base erodes, even if that government decides to go into debt to maintain, roads and other amenities, what is the likelihood that the people who live there can actually perform those maintenance tasks with any competence? It's very low. And, you wind up with these places that are ill-maintained. Think of Detroit. Have you been to Detroit in the last 10 years?
Like, Detroit has picked up quite a bit. It was really bad about 10 plus years ago, but it has turned around. Not a great place, but it's trending in the right direction. Still has a long way to go, but it's getting a lot better than where it was.
I think that is incorrect. I think that
really,
I think that if you go, I was in Detroit 2 years ago, and there's entire swaths of the city you can't visit day or night.
It was like that for decades.
Yeah, and so I wonder.
One that made many trips to Detroit, I can tell you, is like that for fucking decades.
And so, like, there's lots of cities that are going this direction, I think, and like you mentioned, like I mentioned, there may be a few outliers, places like New York, where no matter how dense the population gets, no matter how many schools are poor. With poor outcomes, I should say, people will still live there because there's some prestige, at least for the moment, but that's eroding. You would have said the same thing maybe about San Fran 20 years ago. People will never leave San Fran. It's everyone's favorite city. There's prestige living there. Now no one wants to live there. I think Toronto is getting dangerously close to that here in Canada. Vancouver certainly is already past that precipice. You're going to see this more and more, And it's going to be hard to ignore because, like I said earlier, everyone left is going to be so incompetent that the bar has to be lowered to make their incompetence seem normal, and the results will speak for themselves.
To finding where you're going to go, right? Like, where is it that you go?
I don't know.
That's the thing.
You got to go to small town Canada or small town USA, I think, is the way I would answer that, because that's where competent people go. They don't just leave the planet. They migrate somewhere where income levels are higher, real estate prices are higher.
You're still subject to the greater garbage.
You might be a little bit, but I will tell you, I know you say this about Dundas all the time. I'll tell you, I'm not exposed to any of that.
I never say anything about Dundas.
No. I say this about Dundas all the time.
Oh.
I'm not exposed to any of this. I never see any of these problems. Never. I never see fights. I never hear loud noises. I never have problems with my neighbors or walking my dog or walking out with my daughter. The school nearby is high performing.
Joey, you are talking exactly where I was 15 years ago, and not much has changed within my general vicinity, but a lot has changed with where I want to remain. And that's the thing. And so in terms of where we're, like, you're just behind where I was. And I have a sneaky suspicion you're going to follow down the same fucking steps that I will as things progress.
Yeah.
And
I doubt it, honestly.
I don't know, man.
There's no room. There's the two things to separate where I live and where you live is there's no room for development here, and there's no city services here. So, there's everywhere I look, there's a cemetery or a school. Not going to see any condos being built. Certainly nothing that's 50 floors. And there's no city services. So newcomers don't come here. Yeah, but you guys have tons of new development there.
50-floor condos.
Oh, yeah. I bet you there's 20, 30 floor condos within 10 minutes of your house driving.
Southern Oakville doesn't get this type of development because there is nothing to develop. That's what makes Southern Oakville something that people want to go to, because it is what it is. There's nothing else you could build upon it. There's a huge divide between the South and North part. But I'm telling you, 10, 15 years ago, we were like, if you ask me 10, 15, the exact fucking same situation that you are in now. But the difference is that moving forward, I'm done.
Yeah, you're leaving. You want out. Yeah, you want out.
It's still beautiful where I am, and it may still remain beautiful, but there's more to it. There's more to just what's around me. And you just hop in a car and you go somewhere because eventually you have to, and then you get exposed to that. And for me, maybe your skin is thicker than mine, or maybe just with age, I'm just less tolerant to this shit. I don't know, but I have one thing in mind, one goal. That is it. And that is just to get there. That is it. That everything between now and then is just basically going through the motion, just fucking doing the same fucking thing over and over until I'm able to. And then boom, gone. But until then, it's just buying my time. It's it. It's bullshit. But fuck, let's go on to some other stuff.
Sure.
Because this GTFO stuff, to be honest, sparks a huge debate. If you go, not debate, a lot of conversation. If you go on our Discord, there's even somebody requested the channel. There's so many people talking about. More and more people are fucking deciding to just leave. It seems, but either way, from in Spain, this is a fucking beauty of a story.
Yeah.
If you plan to withdraw 3,000 euros, which is, I'll say, less than 5K Canadian, and if you do that from a Spanish bank, you got to notify the Agencia Tributaria. That's their Spanish tax agent, CRA, IRS, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So you have to notify them in advance. 24-hour notification is mandatory if you're withdrawing $3,000. If you're $100,000, 72-hour notice is required. So like 3,000 pounds. Oh, sorry, euros isn't a lot. 3,000 euros.
No, not at all.
People are going to withdraw this. I mean, not all the time, but within a given year, you're going to withdraw that because you got to pay this. You got to pay, like, it happens. But now you got to notify them, and now they got to know what the fuck you do. Like, it's your money. Like, why can't you get access to this? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, just total control.
They're want to
going
monitor
the
everything.
CBDC route in Europe.
100%. Yeah.
Right. This is probably just preparation to this, but like, come on. And the fines are huge. $150,000. So 150,000 euro is the potential fine if you don't do this. So there's a real incentive to make sure you do fucking provide this information.
What's the worst part of this? Is it that you have to report, or is it actually that if you report something that they decide is not true or not accurate, then you get the fine anyway, right? If I take out $5,000 and tell them, yeah, I'm going to just fucking throw it into the river and, or roll around naked in it in my bed and then set it on fire, and they say, yeah, that's not good enough, you're getting the fine. Like, then what do you do, right? Like, that's really the problem. The problem is that the explanation has to be good enough for them. My wife and I bought we're having a deck built in the backyard. And so we had to take out a not insignificant amount of money from the bank in cash. And the bank didn't ask anything. And I was surprised they didn't ask anything. In the past, I've taken out 5-figure sums for a roof and a couple of other big stuff over the years, a couple of other big things over the years. Every time there's a question about what I'm doing with it. And it was before I was really waist deep, neck deep, I guess, at this point in Bitcoin. And I didn't give it much thought. But in retrospect, though, like, yeah, why the fuck do you need to know what I'm doing with the money that I earned, that I'm loaning you, that I want for purposes that are unrelated to anything you're doing? Well, the answer is because they want control. They want to intimidate you into staying above board on every transaction you engage in. And even if you tell them exactly what you're doing, they may not believe you. And then what is the consequence? That's one thing I haven't seen from the story. What are the consequences, or what are the legal ramifications of some story that they don't believe? I bet you they are pretty severe. There would be a significant alteration to your lifestyle for a short period of time, if not
or
more.
a long period of time for the rest of it.
If not more.
Then they'll use the guy's anti-money laundering as the reason for this. There may be some truth to that. There may be some.
They don't catch anybody. They don't catch anybody in the AML processes. We already talked about this. Like, every European bank has been implicated in these fucking money laundering schemes. TD here in Canada, literally laundering money for the Chinese mafia at Vancouver casinos. Literal hockey bags full of cash. Do you think the guy who walks into the fucking TD and gets a hockey bag stuffed full of Canadian dollars has to get dressed down by the fucking teenage teller? Hey,
the answer to this,
Mr. Chan, where are you taking the fucking Bauer bag full of cash? Doesn't happen. Only happens to you and me.
When TD Bank goes to the Bank of Canada and asks for money, the Bank of Canada should ask them to provide some rationale. And if not, they're going to fine them. So you got to give them the same type of treatment they give their customers, because let's be honest, TD Bank is a customer of the Bank of Canada, right? So that's what we got to extend this. Everybody's subjected to these fucking rules. And if they don't like it, they get fined.
Can we tell them that this is actually part of my investment budget, and I don't need to worry about where I spend it, and I can spend as much as I want without worrying about the consequences? Does that only work for the?
No. You know what? A good one is, you're looking to buy mutual funds.
I'm buying mutuals with another bank. I'm doing it in cash.
Yeah.
I'm taking pictures for my Instagram, I'm taking pictures for my Hinge profile. I need this cash.
Bill's fish chips and insurance and mutual funds. All right. The Federal Reserve, they held their rates, didn't change anything. Whoop-de-doo. Not sure if you want to talk about that, but I really don't give a fuck.
We can. Do you have any comments? No, I don't know.
No, well, Bitcoin's holding steady, even though that they haven't dropped rates for months. And the last time they dropped was last year. Actually, December of last year was the last time they made a move.
They'll have to. They'll have to at some point. And
well, it's not.
When they do, we're going to 150. So enjoy the cheap sats now, because that's coming. It's only a matter
India,
of time.
Pakistan. There's a skirmish going on over there.
Crazy. What is going on? India, Pakistan.
And like I said in a different chat, if there's ever a full-scale war between the two, because right now it's just they're taking pot shots at each other and people are dying. I'm not trying to downplay it.
Did you see the video of the guy slacklining? And he's like taking videos, and beneath him people are getting gunned. That's crazy. Yeah. That is a crazy video.
Unaware of what was going on. That was 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so if there ever is a full-blown war, one thing Canada has done in the past, they've opened a door to displaced people, Syrians, Ukrainians, Palestinians immediately comes to mind. And I would imagine the same type of treatment may be given to people in that neck of
We have
the woods.
to absolutely stop those programs immediately. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. We have to stop it. Can I just note here that this is not going to be in the stories, but Keir Starmer has done a 180 in the last week on immigration, on culture, on a number of things that should be important to Canadians too.
You know something, Joey?
What?
Something happened today, and I don't know if there's any connection with this, but 24 Downing or 12, where the fuck the Prime Minister of England resides, Downing Street, I forget the number.
Yeah.
There was a fire today in there. And I'm wondering if that was started by somebody.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. And the police were called and everything. I wonder if it was because somebody started a fire and it just pissed him off. He's like, what the fuck happened? Okay.
Keir Starmer talking about how the UK has become an island of strangers. Great terminology. I think that's 100% true. And tweeting today, Len, this is a quote, if you want to live in the UK, you should speak English. That's common sense. So we're raising English language requirements across every main immigration route. Wow.
What's the UK's second language? I don't know.
I don't know. Is there one? I don't think there's one. Yeah.
Right. It's just that is the birthplace of the English language.
It's nuts. If you come to Canada, you should have to speak fluent English or French. And there's no exceptions. There's no exceptions to that. Well, I refuse to entertain that we are taking the best and brightest and they can't speak English or French. Like, this has to be part of the equation. It has to be.
I believe it used to be. I'm not sure what it is now. But
sure, shit is not now. You can't. I'm not going to get into it because I will say things that I will regret. But anyone who's living in Canada knows this is not anywhere on the list of requirements for immigrants to this country.
So there's different ways of looking at it. I'm talking about permanent residents under the skilled worker or economic class.
Yeah.
That made up, I don't know if it still does, made up the bulk of the people that came here under permanent residence.
Yeah.
Only permanent resident. And there was requirements to, or at least you had to prove
Used
English.
to be, you're saying, yeah.
And then I don't know what it is now.
There's no way there's still
that made the majority of it. But then there was other categories, like for example, you could sponsor a spouse, right? Like say,
yeah,
you sponsor. There was no requirement for language.
It is ridiculous.
If you migrated here, right? Like this is an example. You migrated here, you have an education, you have a job here, and then you marry somebody from back in your neighbor country, and you want to bring him or her here. No. Why would they have to? You want to live with your loved one, right?
Too bad. We have to draw the line somewhere.
You're gonna have to do this for a number of reasons. One is we're an aging population, and those boomers are slowly or very quickly moving out of the workforce into retirement and also passing on, but they're still going to collect and use up services that need to be paid into CPP, old age security, healthcare.
Okay, but see, this is you know what I think though. I think that's a bullshit thing because the CPP actuarial says that they can provide that without any new immigration and during an economic downturn.
They're going to have to do it because the birth rate because part 2 is our birth rate is low. And you're not having enough people to replace them over time. So you need to offset that with other people. And those other people are going to be
why do they have to replace at that level? What are we talking about here? What is the why here? I'm hearing the explanation, but the why doesn't make sense.
Taxation needs to be done through the duration.
Not my fucking problem. These people, that's exactly the answer though.
It will be your problem if you remain, because somebody is going to have to pay for your health care. Somebody's going to have to pay for your roads.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to pay for your child's school.
We'll be leaving.
And
by
it's
that time.
not going to be able to be done.
Yeah, we'll be leaving. I'm not going to stick around for that. No chance. This is why Bitcoin's so important. Because the people in charge will feed you stories and scare tactics about what needs to happen, and it's always something that makes your life fucking worse.
And
it's not being able to drive a car. It's the guy you order a coffee from doesn't fucking speak English. It's the guy driving the buses got a 1-day fucking driver's license from some truck stop in Mississauga, and he's on the road with a full load of shit. Like everything is just making your life fucking worse.
And so that ties into my second point: is not only do we have low birth rate, we have people of means leaving.
Yeah.
So that is further straining the ability to tax people here. And obviously, Rika talks about tax efficiencies, but when you have these older people that will use the service, will use healthcare more, will collect more CPP. You may say that it's self-funded the way it is right now, but
I don't say that. The actuarial says that. They say it's fine. They say that we don't need anything crazy. We can go through a downturn. CPP is fine for the boomers. They looked at this 30 years ago and planned for it.
And you'll need this constant revolving door of people coming in to replace those that left, those that are not giving birth, and to pay for those that are continually taking from the system. I'm talking about people that work here.
Just makes the problem worse and worse.
And that's the prediction I have. And I can't see this not playing out unless you have some real changes, like, for example, with respect to Alberta. Now, Alberta, there's talking
I want to see them leave so bad. We got to do this story. We should do this
story. We will discuss it. And they are reducing the requirements in terms of how many signatures are required to initiate a referendum for leaving Canada. I think the number is now lowered to somewhere like 160,
and the time period that you have to collect those signatures also expanded, I think, by 50% from 60 days to 120 days.
They're making it easier to at least start the process. And then that potentially, that whole discussion may change how things are moving. Canada, I mean, I'm going to go back to the original topic. Canada for a long time would let in between 250, 300,000 people per year. That's when we had about 30 million people in Canada. And that seemed to work. It didn't strain the system too much. It didn't overload. And you know what? Everyone seemed to be welcoming. People
allowed for assimilation. Yeah.
It's when it changed, when you went to 7 digits in a very short period of time, then it changes.
And they all settled in the same 4 places all over the country, the same 4 postal codes, basically.
Reverting back to where it was is probably the right move, because then you're back in that situation where you're just slowly bringing in people and they're able, as you say, to assimilate, and it's not a huge strain on the system. And then that's how you do it. And that's the proper way, in my opinion, how it's done. I'm not sure if they're going to do that, but Alberta separating might initiate talks of changing immigration system, or it might just initiate them fucking separating from Canada, which then creates problems with what do you do with the debt? For instance, the federal debt, it was accumulated with them part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then do they just have to absorb a part of it if they are to go on their own? The 51st state, I don't know if that's going to be a possibility. You're bringing in a bunch of people. If you look at the American political spectrum, they're very left. Even the right from Canadian standards, they're probably left in U.S. standards. And would they bring that in? I don't know. A territory, potentially. Would Alberta want to be considered a territory? I don't know. And then that would really fucking it make things awkward for BC.
If they give Alberta preferred trade partner status, that would sweeten.
You talking United States or Canada or both?
The States. Canada would not do it. Are you kidding? Canada's, oh my God, led by the boomers. Who would vote for that? The boomers would hate it. They're completely clueless. The boomers like fucking goldfish. I had this conversation with my neighbor the other day. They don't remember anything 6 months ago. $9 bacon 6 months ago was fucking price gouging. Now $9 bacon, with the same grocery store selling the $9 Canadian bacon, having the excuse to pull American bacon off the shelves, elbows up, whatever. Make it that what you will. If the United States gives Alberta preferred trade partner status, that's a big time pot sweetener for that whole secession deal. I don't think Alberta would want to join the United States. I think the United States would be interested in having them just on the resource side, but Alberta doesn't need them. Why would they not just embrace the Saudi model? Come here, start a business. The currency is strong. Everything is backed by oil. We have fucking tons of it, and we're going to ship it out. And by the way, which provinces do you think would last without the equalization payments coming from Alberta? Certainly not anything east of Quebec. Maybe not anything east of Ontario. and like, the further east you go, these other provinces would be starving. They will starve in a year, 2 years. Not literally, of course, but figuratively, certainly from a financial point of view. Without those equalization payments, they'd be in a bit of a hard spot. And as far as the debt, like, okay, I guess you can saddle me with the debt, but then you also have to saddle me with my contributions to the CBP, my contributions to Ontario, Quebec, Vancouver, BC healthcare. Like, if you want to give me the debt, you got to give me everything else. Otherwise, just exit out on the balance sheet. We'll start fresh, and we'll call it zeros.
That's a good point. I didn't think about the CBP
like they've done all kinds of stuff for the country, and they've not gotten. Let's face it, they've not gotten much back. They don't have any Senate seats. I think 6 Senate seats from Alberta, right? 24 from Ontario, 20 from Quebec, if I remember correctly, something like that. It's a fairly high number from Laurentian sort of central power structure.
This is a holdover from when,
but it hasn't
Federation
changed.
days.
It hasn't changed.
No,
right?
and it won't.
Exactly.
It won't change.
And so until it does, Alberta also playing hardball today, freezing the carbon tax. They're saying we're not paying any more than this. Ottawa can do whatever they want. We're not going to pay it. We're not.
There's still the
interested.
carbon tax. It's
some kind of carbon pricing structure that they have.
Didn't Carney talk about his plan for this when he had 3 minutes to speak with Trump?
You know what? He did not. So
what the heck did he talk about?
I'm curious about what this looks like for Alberta. I will note that whenever a new prime minister is elected, generally the premiers come to Ottawa for a meeting with the PM and the PMO to discuss priorities and sort of have their voices heard. Carney, to his credit, is having that meeting out west. So a message, sentiment shift, I don't know, but I have to give him credit for that. That's good. I like the way that looks. And I just keep listening to Doomberg and thinking like, okay, man, this guy, maybe he got it right. Maybe Danielle Smith is feigning separatism, and we're going to get Fortress North America on the back of Alberta oil, just like Trump wants. And we see a golden age of energy production bullishness, energy cost being low, and we're wrong about Mark Carney. This turns into a Mark Carney fan page.
You know what? I wish him the best.
So do I. I should note that. I said this to I said this to my neighbors the other day, and I'll say it again here. Again, unpopular, but he is the better politician of him and Polyev. And if he turns out to be a better prime minister, I will not be surprised. I don't think anyone at this point, I can't imagine anyone will be.
I defended him for being the central banker, not just because of the fact that what role could he really do in terms of impacting the economy? It's kind of like with the at least the Bank of Canada. It's almost like not really a department of the government. It's like an agency. The government of Canada could survive without the Bank of Canada, but the Bank of Canada can't survive without the government of Canada. That's their relationship. But last quick story is we're running to the end of this.
Sure.
Is the cricket factory in London
in receivership, even after getting a boost from the government, right?
Yeah, this is not good news for people that are looking to eat their crickets. So they might have to look abroad to get it, or maybe domestic, or maybe make it and cook it.
Grind your own cricket dust. Yeah, can you do that? Put it in your magic bullet.
Yeah. The options are limitless, but you have to pay a higher. Well, at least if you're in the States, you probably have to pay more for that magic bullet because of tariffs. Yeah. But yeah, so it's too bad. So no crickets for everybody. At least not Canadian made.
You can't get elbows up crickets anymore. You have to buy your crickets from overseas. Yeah.
And you know what?
Shipped here in a boat or whatever.
But the thing is, you don't know if it's in any of the foods too.
It probably is. Honestly, I've resigned myself to that fact. I try not to eat eggs all the time. I know there's no crickets in my eggs. So,
because I know Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, when soon after coming into power, she put a law in place saying you can't put this in shit like pasta and stuff, which leads me to believe they were putting this in shit like pasta before all this come into play, which is rather scary. So what the heck are we fucking eating over here? I don't know.
Me neither. A lot of Red 40 and a lot of crickets. That's it. Come back tomorrow for Shay talking Bitcoin from overseas. The overseas perspective on corn and related topics. Until then, everyone, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching, listening, commenting, and we'll see you next time.
Don't be a cock.